Welcome to the Spirits, Angels, and Guides Oh My podcast,
where the supernatural gets real, baby.
Hey, Tara.
Nan.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I am very excited for today's topic. You know, if there's anything that you and I get more frequently when we cover tools for our developing mediums, this is a very sort of very hot topic as far as tools go for mediums and psychics. So I'm excited to see what you dug up in your research, my dear.
So here's something interesting. Tools, the philosophy around tools and spiritualism, especially with mediums, is a hit and miss. You don't need tools. And I remember Reverend Martin Broff, he and his wife Gloria were reverends, and they were high-ranking spiritualists when I first started doing this work. And I will never forget him coming through. I was just sitting at the church, and I was sitting in there, and he said, "Oh, Tara, can I come to you, please?" Now, we didn't know each other very well, and he brought my 2 cats through. I thought that was so crazy. But anyway, he brought my 2 cats through, and then all of a sudden he says, "And you need to stop using the cards. You need to stop using the cards, Tara, and just focus on your mediumship." And so I did. I focused on my mediumship. But I love the cards, and I feel like the cards are super important. But they were a tool, right? And it's the same with the Ouija board. So people get all bent out of shape. Now, I'm going to say to you that the Ouija board is so old. Like, it goes to like 1700 China, right? Them using these boards to do divination. It's as far back as the divination rods to go find some water on your like barren land, that kind of stuff. But the thing about the Ouija board is that it's got a bad rap, right? I mean, how many people, even some of my good friends who are spiritualists, "Oh, not the Ouija board. I had a bad experience." I swear to God, I want to slap everyone when they say that. Likely they had a bad experience because they don't know how to use a Ouija board. They don't understand energy. They felt weird in the room because they were conjuring energy. Are they conjuring spirits? I would guarantee you more likely not. I would guarantee you that more likely than not, they had no idea what they were doing. They freaked themselves out. They made it all spooky and whatever, and they scared themselves. I'll fight you on it, but that's what I believe. When people tell me some of their stories, I'm like, okay. They make it sound like demons are coming out, and they also make every spirit that comes through sound like they are evil.
Hollywood has done that. Hollywood has done that a lot.
But even the people telling you the stories, I was 10 years old in the closet with the Ouija board, and its face came at me, and anyway. I think the Ouija board gets a bad rap. I think it is an absolutely fantastic tool if you're looking to do something that is almost physical. Like you're seeing something. That's why we use cards, right? Some people use cards because people sometimes get a better feeling when they can visualize something. It's like right there. It's right there in front of your face, that physicality. Yeah. So Ouija boards get that bad rap. Also, it's so easy to manipulate a Ouija board if you really, really think about it. Now, I don't know about you, Nan, and I've actually used a Ouija board with you, but I don't put my hands on it at all. What is that thing called? The planchette?
Yeah, planchette.
I don't put my fingers on it at all. I hover about that much. If you blew on me, my fingers would probably touch it, but I don't touch it because energetically. Because the reason you're supposed to put your fingers on it is for the energy and all that stuff, right? I don't do that because I want to know what's going on. It's the same with table tilting. Okay? Table tilting. And these are all going way back when the seances, when the Fox sisters and spiritualism was becoming such a big deal in the, the late 1800s, early 1900s, when spiritualism was becoming a big deal again. So, you don't have to touch it. That's how you know it's working, in my personal view. Other people, again, people will always come at me. So why do we want to talk about Ouija boards now, though? Why am I so hyped in this? Because I want to have a back and forth with you because people do have different feelings and emotions about it. So first of all, I'm going to give you just a little bit of its roots, people. I'm going to give you some foundation. If you know me, you know that I'm going to look down at my notes, baby, because I cannot memorize all this stuff. And we're not techie enough to have it up on our screens. Okay. Let's just keep going. So the Ouija board's roots can be traced back to ancient practice of divination and communication with the dead, all the way back to China. I said the 1600s. It actually says 1100 AD.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So this is why you don't trust Tara's, memory for this kind of stuff. And in the late 19th century, during the spiritualist movement, interest in contacting spirits surged. The period saw the emergence of various tools for spirit communication, including the Ouija board. Now, the Ouija board is a very beautiful piece of art, if you ask me. It's just, I have one that was homemade by someone, and it is just a beautiful, beautiful piece of wood with design and works very well. So I feel like it's got presence. I feel like when you put a Ouija board down on a table, you're like, damn, here we go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of our friend Lynn has a little one she packs with her. It's a portable travel Ouija board. It's like this big, and you just fold it up and you just whip it out when when you're at dinner and you want to do a Ouija board. Do you also remember that the Ouija board, I think Martell or Hasbro made one when we were we would have been little. We're the same age.
Yes.
Do you remember that one? I remember having that one, and I thought I still had it, but we just redid our renoed our basement, and it's not here anymore. But I remember the box. It was like a cream-colored box, and there was like a picture of a group of people like all around this table and this Ouija board, and it said Ouija on the top of it. Anyway, and actually, for anyone that cares, and maybe you do, and maybe you don't, the word Ouija actually comes from French and German words for yes. We and ja.
Huh.
See?
Look at, we're learning things.
I know. Okay, guys, let's just keep going. So we all know that the Ouija board has got a bad rap, mostly because of bad PR. Right? Used in movies, conjuring up all sorts of things like that. I have never had, and we all know this is a topic for another time, Nanny, but I do not believe in evil spirits. I do not believe in spirits that come through and cause discord. I believe in mysterious spirits. I don't believe in evil spirits. So the Ouija board for me is a great tool if you are looking to connect with loved ones on the other side and you need this hardcore proof. But I also want to say this to you. I believe the Ouija board is also a form of physical mediumship, and physical mediumship is not easy to do. So you have to be able to have a really still mind. And that's why I don't really play with it that often, because I don't have that kind of concentration.
And you can all listeners hear how fast she's talking. And so this is how fast she moves in life as well.
I can literally not sit for that long unless you're feeding me copious amounts of Cadbury cream eggs, right? I just cannot sit there for that long. The super important thing, though, to remember is that any tool of divination that you're using, be it cards, be it the Ouija board, I keep going back to divination rods because the word divination keeps coming up. You can manipulate those to suit whatever it is that you want to suit. So if you want to come in looking scary, you can make those things look scary. If you want to come in and be like it's the Holy Grail, you can make them look like the Holy Grail, right? It's like with anything. So we all know how to use the Ouija board. You put your fingers lightly on the planchette and you start to let it kind of go when you ask some questions of spirit. Are you there, spirit? Yes. Okay, great. Are you my great aunt twice removed? No. Thank God I didn't like her. Are you, you start asking questions, and typically, eventually, it will start to move. It doesn't always happen right away. But that's the gist of it. You ask it questions, it's answering you. It'll spell out things, right? It'll spell out things. Anyway, it will spell out. It will spell out words. It will spell out names. It will spell out phrases. It will give yes and no answers. It will stop. It will be like, I don't know what you're talking about, people. Can you just lay me back to rest? It will do all those things. That's the purpose of it. Does it have a cultural impact? Well, I don't personally think so much. It's just a way to communicate with spirits. Some people find it as entertainment. To me, it's very similar to seances, right? Physical mediumship, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So, whether you're using it to guide you or not, what I want to talk about is some instances. But before we even do that, do you know that there are celebrities that actually really love using the Ouija board? And you know, the Kardashians, the younger two girls, Kendall and Kylie,
Okay.
they use the Ouija boards. What's their mom's name? Chris. Chris will not have it in their house. But I got this quote from, oh, did I not take it down? Oh, look at that. I had this quote from her. You can go and Google it. I got it from Bang Showbiz. And it was just this cute little thing about how they were using it. And they got all freaked out. And Kendall and Kylie had to go sleep in the same bed a couple of times because they were so scared. And you know, and they couldn't tell their mom about it. But I got some quotes here. Andy McDowell. My sisters and I, she's an actress. My sisters and I really love ghosts and the idea of ghosts. We use the Ouija board to talk to dead relatives, and they actually do communicate with us. The 4 Weddings and a Funeral star revealed when she was speaking to People magazine, Andy claimed that during one spirit session, a dead uncle predicted a lot of the stuff that's actually happened in her career.
That's cool. I love
that's cool. And you know, again, it comes down to, you know, proof. She sees this. You know what? It's a great, you have people, you never use a Ouija board by yourself. You just don't. But, you know, you got these people around you that can actually prove, okay, yeah, dead Uncle Rick came through and said all this, and look at her now, baby. Look at her now. Charlize Theron. This one was kind of cute. Mad Max actress Charlize Theron used a Ouija board for a video for Cosmopolitan. Her reaction was so extreme that the clip went viral. Charlize was so scared by the experience that she vowed to never dabble in the occult. Well, if you are like listening to us, and my face is doing that grimace like the occult. Settle down now, people. Settle down. Be calm. She said, I'm a little unsettled by this. I get all my information from films, and every film always tells me, don't fuck with this. And that's not a lie, though, because it's right.
True.
Goldie Hawn revealed on the Oprah Winfrey Show that in the 80s, she found an old Ouija board at her home and decided to try it. I love it when we just find them.
Spawn them randomly.
Right? I was in the attic and the candles all lit. And Goldie, who is in a long-term relationship with Guardians of the Galaxy actor Kurt Russell. Okay, can we just stop? I didn't know Kurt Russell was in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh.
Who the hell is he in Guardians of the Galaxy? If you guys know, you got to put it in the comments, either on Instagram or down below. First asked, who is with us now? So I guess Kurt Russell first asked, who is with us now? Prompting the board to spell out new baby Russell. I get the chills just thinking about it, said Goldie, who a few months later found out she was pregnant with son Wyatt.
Oh, that's cool.
Isn't that cool? And before the haters are going to hate on us, yes, we know that people can manipulate things, but I sincerely don't believe that people who are making up stuff about their spiritual experiences or, you know, a Ouija board or a card reading literally run out and start giving quotes to Reddit and Bang Showbiz.
Maybe not.
Right? Like they needed it to be that real. So there we go. And then I want to tell you some interesting stories, and I've got quite a few of them, and I think that this will be really entertaining for our listeners to see what your kind of feedback is on them. Like, what do you feel with this? So the first ones are just some interesting stories I found, and they're just kind of interesting. So the Chicago Ouija board incident. Now these 4 that I'm going to give are these 3, excuse me, are kind of just fun little tidbits of information, and then we'll get into the stuff where Nancy's going to give us her feedback as the psychic medium that she is.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so the Chicago Ouija board incident. In the early 20th century, a group of Chicago socialites claimed to have contacted the spirit of a deceased friend during a Ouija session. The spirit supposedly warned them about an impending disaster. Shortly after, a major fire broke out in their neighborhood, leading some to believe the board had I'm going to say this word wrong. Prophetic?
Yeah, like a prophecy, like a prophetic.
Yes, that's the word. It's like a word. Had prophecy powers. Coincidence? Or was the board trying to tell them something? Thoughts? Anything on that one?
Well, and it for me, it's all about validating facts. You and I are evidential mediums. So if we're talking to someone through the board, I want to know who I'm talking with, right? Is that their spirit guides coming through trying to offer safety so that they're not around the fuel of the fire?
They said they're spirit of a deceased friend.
So
this could be one for the books. Okay. Did you ever hear, we talked about Ed and Lorraine Warren. Okay, so Ed and Lorraine Warren, all the Amityville crap, they were a religious couple. She was a medium. He was a fake. Anyway, and you know about the doll Annabelle.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone does. We've talked about her quite a bit.
Yeah.
I never knew. And my research skills are like, okay. But it says here, the haunted board, a famous Ouija board known as the Annabelle board.
Oh, I don't know about this one.
You don't?
No.
Okay, someone's making up bullshit. The once owned by paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, they claimed it was responsible for a series of strange occurrences in their house. The board was eventually locked away to prevent further disturbances. Now, don't get me wrong. Ed and Lorraine made up a lot of stuff and had a lot of items that they claimed could do certain things. I ain't never been to their museum, so I don't know what's true and what's not true. But it wouldn't be surprising to me that they had a Ouija board that they claimed would do, because remember, they have a haunted museum. They need to bring people to the haunted museum. So it wouldn't surprise me they had a Ouija board that they would claim that, but I never heard of it being called an Annabelle board.
No, me neither.
Annabelle doll? For real? Annabelle board? I don't know. I tried to look up more into it and I couldn't find anything.
All right. Well, listeners, if you know any more about the Annabelle board, make sure you throw it in the comments for us, because inquiring minds want to know.
Absolutely. Then, and then it's just talking about the controversy of the Ouija boards. So many religious groups and skeptics argue against the use of Ouija boards, viewing them as tools for demonic influence or psychological manipulation. Not gonna lie about the psychological manipulation. I could see that. I could see people using the Ouija board. And we know it. It's not that just I could see it. We know that people have done that throughout time. Manipulate it to get someone to believe in something, manipulated it to get, money, exchange, that kind of stuff. The controversy often fuels the intrigue surrounding the board and why people are drawn to it for its forbidden nature. Okay, yep, that's probably accurate, right?
I think so.
Okay, so here's some other fun stories. And again, these are just ways that people have used the Ouija boards, guys. Then I promise you, we're going to get to Nan. I swear to the great goddess, but I feel like we got to share this stuff. Okay. Here's some John Fuller. Okay. After Eastern Airlines Flight 401 crashed into the Florida Everglades in 1972, killing 101 of the 176 people on board, John G. Fuller wrote a book about it called The Ghosts of Flight 401. Employees of Eastern Airlines reported seeing the ghosts of the captain, Bob Loft, and second officer Don Repo. The theory was that parts from Flight 401 were salvaged and used in another aircraft the company owned. Fuller used a Ouija board in the process of writing the book and reported that messages from Repo came through.
Now, I've heard of that. I remember hearing about a crashed plane and the parts were used and ghosts were attached to the parts.
That's weird.
Yeah, like whether it be energy impression or... Okay, keep going. We'll come back.
I just want to say this. I guess for me, the way I deal with spirits and the way spirits have always come through for me, it's always with a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it always brings me back to, is it a spirit or is it a residual energy? Is it residual energy attached to that part? Because why the hell would a spirit be like, I'm going to follow my wing to every plane it goes to? You know what I mean?
Well, is there more to the story about the connections that he made through the Ouija board? Like, was
There's not, because you know my skill set. I'm just here to kind of give you a little bit of this, that, and the other thing. So, again, maybe, you know what? Maybe we should actually literally look at that and see if we can find anything else, and let's put it in the Instagram, baby.
Mhm.
Or better yet, if you're in our Patreon, then we'll stick it in Patreon.
Yeah, because it would be interesting to learn more. Like, was the pilot coming in and saying that the plane crashed because of this, and this malfunction, and he's attached to one of the malfunctioning parts, and he's trying to warn the new plane riders or the new pilot that there's a defective part taken from this plane that's in this plane. Like, is that the message?
Do you know what? I'm going to actually get the book and read The Ghost of Flight 401. I'm going to be having surgery soon, so I'm going to be sitting on my cute little Badinsky for a while, and I'm going to see if I can read about that. And what I find out, I'll put in bits and pieces into Instagram and into our Patreon.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. This one was cool, and it showed a picture of a band from 2005. Never heard of this band in my life. It's called the Mars Volta. The band's called the Mars Volta. Says they wrote an entire album. Baby, they wrote an entire album, The Bedlam in Goliath, with a Ouija board. A session with the board gave them a story. This is where kind of like, I was like, okay, gave them a story that they ended up using in the whole creative process. But when strange things started happening, a flooded studio, one of their engineers had a nervous breakdown, and their lead singer injured his foot, they broke the Ouija board in two and buried it in a mysterious location.
Oh,
Quite dramatic.
that's very dramatic. I've also heard you should never burn a Ouija board.
Oh, I never heard that either. I feel like I feel like I'm so versed in the spirituality, and then I don't know anything. I've never
Just
heard that.
watch enough horror movies with me. So there's so many different horror movies that have all of this underlying lovely, either maybe true or not true.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
here's what I find cool about this particular one is that it's at first when I read it, I was like, what in God's good name? They wrote a whole album, like every word A, B, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what I found interesting was a session with the board gave them a story that they ended up using in the whole creative process. That made sense to me.
Mhm.
Is that like that made sense to me? Like they, what do we need to know about this album? And it gives a story, and then they use that to build the songs. That made sense to me. So there's that. Okay. Oh, I found the Kendall Jenner thing. I'm going to read it to you in a second. Okay. But the next one is jurors in the Stephen Young case. In 1993, Stephen Young was accused of murdering Henry and Nicola Fuller. Oh my God, another Fuller. At their home in Wadworst, England. Wadworst. Where do you live? I live in Wadworst, England. He went to trial the next year and was convicted, but the verdict was overturned after it came out that 4 of the jurors on the case had used the Ouija board at their hotel the night before declaring their verdict. Using a glass as a planchet, they asked the spirits, "Who killed you?" One supposedly responded, "Stephen Young done it. Stephen Young done it,"
Done it.
before instructing them to bolt guilty tomorrow. Then it says Young was retried and once again found guilty.
Okay. I would really much rather have, if I was in a court situation and facts, DNA, I would rather have all of that than my jury consulting a Ouija board about my guilt.
Who did it? Okay, so I am going to read you guys the Kendall Jenner thing, because I'm super excited it's here. In an interview with Vogue magazine, the model spilled that when she was a teenager, she was certain that her mom, Kris Jenner's house was haunted. Kendall, along with some friends, tried to communicate with the spirits in an effort to confirm what she believed. She said the scariest thing we used to do was play Ouija board. I do believe in ghosts. I don't know if I've ever seen one, but I've experienced some pretty ghosty.
It's a new verb.
Ghosty situations. In the house my mom lives in, Kylie and I would always hear footsteps on the roof while no one was home. Kylie's shower used to turn on all the time and we never knew why. So yeah, I'm convinced it was a ghost.
But she didn't have the board tell her who the ghost was?
Those Jenners. Those Kardashians. Okay, good stuff. Okay, now here's the fun part. Now, and then I can't wait to hear this. Here's the first one. I can see you through the window. Now, these are people's actual accounts. I got this from Reddit. So these are people's actual accounts of experiences with the Ouija board.
Okay.
I was about 12 or 13 spending the night at a friend's house goofing around with the Ouija board with him and his sister. We were getting all sorts of gibberish plus words spelled out, just kind of scaring ourselves for fun, not taking it very seriously. Then we got the message. I can see you through the window. And then I can see you through his eyes. Or something like that. You love it when they can't really remember. There was just a small window in the basement room where we were, and just the backyard and woods past the driveway visible through that window. We asked it more questions, and it said, I'm under the car. So we somehow got up the nerve to go out with a flashlight and peer under the car, where we saw a huge black stray cat hissing.
Oh.
We ran inside freaking out, and at that exact moment, the power failed and all the lights in the house went out. We just about actually pooped ourselves. A few minutes later, the power came back and we sat up until dawn that night scared and never played with the board again. Reddit user No Springs.
That is the makings for a really good horror movie.
And that's interesting, isn't it? So what would you make of that spirit? That type of spirit coming through? What would you make of that? Because to me, there was a cat under the window or under the car. Could have been under the window. I don't know. What are you thinking?
You know, it's interesting because being an animal communicator, the first place my brain went was the cat was screwing with you. Like, because the cats can communicate energetically, right? So,
and they're terribly psychic.
And they're very, very psychic, and they walk between the veils seamlessly. Like, they're very, very intuitive. So, you know, it makes me wonder if the cat was tapping into the energy and messing with them. Because, you know, living energy, I would assume, can influence the Ouija board as much as deceased energy.
I would agree. So what do you think then about the lights going out? Like, boom.
Well, maybe it was a very mischievous cat. And and you know, he affected, you know, that is interesting though, because as you and I know, a lot of times spirits will communicate and mess. It's easy to mess with electronics. It's easy to mess with, you know, even small animals and insects so that they can appear frequently, right? So I don't know. Maybe it was a combination. Maybe the spirit got the cat to be under the car and terrify those kids.
Which leads us to the idea of, can spirits manipulate? But that's another conversation for another time. Make a note. I'm marking that. Make a note.
Okay. Making a note.
Are you ready for the next one?
Okay. You didn't say what your opinion was.
Well, you know, when it said the cat under the car, I instantly went to, okay, there's a spirit playing with them. There's a spirit being mischievous.
Yeah.
Like
the cat under there to scare them, and
that,
looking,
and then the power goes out. You know, coincidence?
Nah.
Sure. I'm not that person. I believe that everything happens with a purpose. So
yeah. Okay.
Number 2, a mysterious death. My 2 best friends, M and L for this story, and I played the Ouija board at M's house. It was going fine until M asked the spirit how it died, and it was going fine. We had a spirit. It was all good. We were having tea. And then she had to go and ask the spirit how it died. And it said murder. She asked how it had been murdered. And it said, not I. Not I. It gave its name as something older than I can no longer remember and gave us a date in the 1800s. It started to get heavy. The room felt different, and the little thing on the board was ripped out of our hands and went across the room. We stopped playing immediately after that. M's mom died of cancer a week later, very suddenly. Nobody knew. Probably a coincidence, but Elle's mom was hospitalized for a serious drinking problem not long after that, and then mine had an emergency hysterectomy the same week. I have since then experienced things that I don't think I would have without this experiences. Voices, a dark shadow, footsteps. I wonder if I'm haunted sometimes still, and it's been 9 years. Reddit user, Turtleshell Magic.
Okay, so I would say tortoiseshell magic is
Turtle girl, not tortoise.
Tortoiseshell magic is a medium and just has not learned the tools of the trade. So I would say that's why they're hearing things. Usually shadows that we see, shadow people, are before we can really plug into our gift and call them forward and say, who is this? And drill down to who's visiting. We get quick glimpses, all of those things. I really do feel the matriarchal medical issues for all of them does seem a little bit, even though we say there's no coincidences, it does feel like it's a bit of a coincidence.
I think it's far stretched
Yeah.
to go, all this happened. That feels to me like it was already in the works. And it just so happened, and she's attaching it to make it more.
And the thing is too, some people when they're ill, like with cancer, they don't tell their families because they don't, it's so I think we need to remove that component. And I just think that, she was messing around with a tool and she got plugged in and a little bit opened up with cracking open her mediumship. Now, did you say something happened to her mother as well?
Yep.
Because
her mother had a hysterectomy. Elle's had a drinking problem and was hospitalized, and M's died of cancer a week later. So this all sounds very, I don't know. It's a good story.
Yeah.
It's a good story. It fits together. It fits together if you're not a medium. It fits together if you're someone who's just like hanging on the edge of their seat going, oh, that Ouija board did that. Oh my gosh. So that's my opinion on that.
I don't think the Ouija board instigated all of that. I think a lot of what's happened after using the Ouija board, she's just opening up to her abilities.
Association, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Number 3, our good friend Roger. I was over at a friend's house back in the early 90s. I believe I was in 9th grade at the time. There were 4 of us, myself and 3 other girls. They kept asking me if I wanted to play with the Ouija board because they've been talking to some dude on it named Roger. I was totally skeptical at first. I wasn't buying it, totally thought they were moving the planchette until I asked the board a question that only I knew. We had just got our grades from school back that day, and I asked it what I got in science. I remember this clearly, and I know my friends did not know the answer. The board spelled out my grade. Of course, that piqued my interest, so I started asking it more questions. Now, that I can buy into.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I'm there. I'm with her. She got a D. No, I don't know. I can't really recall the details of that night other than the board kept calling one of my friends a bitch. It hated her. It liked me. His name was Roger, and he was stabbed to death. At one point, I was the only one controlling the board and asking questions, and it worked. The freakiest thing that's ever happened to me. I am not super spiritual. I have never seen anything else paranormal related, and I feel that I'm a very rational person. All I know is something supernatural was controlling that board without a doubt. Reddit user Ouija 1993. Why do these people who are claiming not to be spiritual and stuff have these Reddit names like Turtle Shell Magic and Ouija 1993. Like that, though, I feel that one I can take that as a common experience with a Ouija board.
Very, very.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do. I think I have one more. Oh, I got two more. Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. The case of the vanishing board. We were hanging out at a friend's. I know. Ooh, vanishing. We were hanging out at a friend's dorm room and busted out. I love the way that people say this. We were hanging out in a friend's dorm room and busted out the Ouija board. There were a few of us who had used them before and a few who hadn't that were quite skeptical. It was about 11 p.m. and the communication with the board was going quite well. I love that. Just love the way people are like, we were having a good time, us the board, like old friends. Gary, one of the skeptics, kept calling bullshit to the whole thing. We convinced him to sit on the floor with us and give it a shot. His first question, is this for real or just a bunch of bullshit? The planchette zipped to no. Fine, he says, still not believing. Prove it. No sooner had he finished that statement when the lights in the room flickered and the building's fire alarm went off. This freaked us all out and we left the room to follow fire alarm procedures because, well, that's you.
That's what you do.
After about 20 minutes, campus safety said it was a false alarm and let us all back into the dorms. When we arrived back up to our friend's room, the Ouija board was gone. No one took it with us, and the room was left locked. Reddit user, Hammerhands.
Hammerhands. Woof. I love these usernames. That's cool. That is a very cool story. I'd be interested to learn more. Like, did they find the board later, like stuffed under a cushion, or because as you and I know, spirit can mess with stuff. They can move stuff. It takes a lot of energy.
They can't throw you down the stairs or,
Correct. But, like sometimes I've had it where I know I put my keys on the table.
Oh, yeah.
And then you find out you've missed an accident because you were searching for your keys. You finally find them where you didn't put them and you drive out the driveway and there's an accident. You missed it and spirit intervened. Like those kind of good stories. So you're thinking, that's kind of cool. Like that it's just disappeared.
And this one felt genuine. Like this one felt like for real spirit working with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, this one was a win. That was a win. We did the Ouija board. Okay. Last one. And then we'll wrap this baby up. Okay. And listeners, watchers, if you have a story that you want to share with us, we'd love to do an episode later on and share your guys' stories with Ouija boards. Like tell us the goodies, the creepiness, the stuff. Give us the tea. Okay, here's the last one. A creepy Christmas greeting. I got a Ouija board for Christmas because you know that, and when I was in 6th grade, because that's a great Christmas present. I got a Cabbage Patch doll. What did you get? Satan on in a board.
I gotta meet that person's parents because they're pretty cool for a gift.
When I was in 6th grade, where are you, 11, 10?
That must have been big when it was with Mattel, right? When they were...
Right? Okay, that night I went over to my best friend's house and brought the Ouija board with me. We went up to her room, set it on the floor, and asked, is there anyone in the room with us? The planchette spelled out Ruth, which was my grandmother's name and her great aunt's name. Both my grandmother and her great aunt had died that year. We threw the board back in the box and totally freaked out. I brought it home, put it in my closet, but every time I looked at the box, it gave me this horrible, creepy feeling, so I ended up throwing it in the dumpster a couple of years later. Reddit user Beaty. Okay, so this is a great thing to end this on, this particular one. What's your thoughts?
Obviously, grandma or auntie is coming through, and they were way too young to be driving that thing. Because I feel if they were older, they would have been more mentally developed, physically developed, like the whole mind, body, soul. Way too young to be sort of mucking with the spirit stuff. But I feel it was too much. It came in, they got contact, and then they just freaked out. So
Because they don't know how to use it. They don't know how to protect themselves. They don't know how to set the room. They don't know how to do any of that. So that to me is a full-on absolutely yes.
Yep.
That happened. Those girls, Ruth came in, possibly both great auntie and grandma came through, and they just did what a smart kid does when you're scared. Let's get rid of the mother fluffing thing that's scaring me.
totally.
Oh my goodness. Okay, guys, that's it. That's what I got for you. Thank you so much for sticking around for us. Hey, Nan, I think we've rolled out our Patreon.
Yeah. So if you want to learn more, definitely check us out, check our socials out, but come on over to our Patreon. It's an exciting new place to be. We've got 3 different tiers. So there's something good for everyone. And we would love to engage with you even more.
And we're going big, baby. We're going big. No more being small. We are looking to move up, and our frequency. So come along for the ride and bring your friends with us. Nan, we will talk later, Gator.
Talk later, Gator.
We're going to bring out the Ouija board.
Yeah, let's do it right now.
I got people to contact.
Me too.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on this journey into the wonderfully weird and metaphysical.
If you loved what you heard, don't forget to follow us for more insights and behind the scenes fun.